The building here on the corner of Griner and Pelkey on Detroit's east side hasn't been lived in for more than a decade. But in August of 1987, Edward Sayers lived in the top right unit. It was August 21st. It was a Friday. It rained that day, and the temperature actually dipped to 80 degrees. That's also the last day anyone saw Sayers alive.
Growing up, what was he like?
Oh, hilarious.
Yeah, he had a great sense of humor.
Ed was the middle child of 5 and big brother to sisters Ruth and Beth.
You don't want to say there's favorites in the family, but
He was her favorite.
My mom.
No doubt.
Fast forward to August 25th, 1987. That's when Beth and Ruth got the phone calls from their parents.
they had said he was stabbed. And I said immediately, what hospital is he in? And then they just said that he was in the morgue. And the police report says that there were 32 stab wounds, just horrible, horrible.
One of his wounds was in the jugular?
From actually almost from ear to ear.
Yeah.
I know my mother was devastated. My mother's health definitely went down after that. She only lived 11 years after he passed.
We were supposed to go out Friday night, but I wasn't feeling well, so I invited him over to my house, but he didn't come over. I think he was killed Friday night because he didn't go to work Saturday or
Dennis
Monday.
Shinier grew up with Ed and was good friends with him at the time of his death. Ed's father called him to say he hadn't been to work for a few days and asked if Shinier would check his apartment.
The landlord met me there, and we went upstairs, and as he was fumbling with keys, the door just opened. It wasn't locked. And we walked in, the radio was on, and we turned, and then you could see Ed's body was laying across his bed, fully clothed, blood all over, slashing razor. Back of the head, front of the head, Ed's hands were slashed. So he was fighting it off.
The police did say that it was an overkill, so they feel that it was someone he did know.
But who? Perhaps it was the man who left a perfect clue behind when he left the apartment.
I told the police there's a blood imprint in the bathroom sink.
Shinier says police told him the fingerprint belonged to a man who lived nearby, yet the case was never made. And then years passed.
When the detectives called us in '04, they have a fingerprint of somebody, and they showed us a picture of that person. Well, as soon as I saw that, I just broke down. I mean, it was just like actually seeing somebody and seeing a picture of the person that could have done this to Ed was just overwhelming to me.
Did you recognize the person?
No.
No.
If they had this fingerprint in '87, why wasn't there anything done at that point with that fingerprint? Why did they wait till 2004 to let us know about it?
Beth and Ruth, as well as Shinier, have their suspicions that the case wasn't taken as seriously as it should have been in 1987 because Ed was gay.
At the time of Ed's death, that's when AIDS thing was just starting. And Ed bought a case of teddy bears and would go to Henry Ford Hospital to the AIDS ward and give people teddy bears, to cheer them up. That's the kind of guy he was.
Edward Sayers was gay. In '87, is there a chance this didn't get the department's full attention because of that?
I would hope not. I mean, I can't speak to that, but I doubt it. But I would hope not.
The Detroit Police Department has acknowledged its troubled past in this area, but Commander Mike McGinnis says in the Sayers case, officers worked the crime scene by the book. And yes, they did process that bloody fingerprint.
Was that person cleared, or is that person still on the radar?
No, that person's still on the radar. Yeah, there was a fingerprint, and in 1987, there was in the system at the time there was no match for that fingerprint. Subsequently, around 2004, a match became available, and when I say a match, we were able to identify the person that the print belongs to, and they did follow up on that lead back in 2004, and no, that person is not cleared.
Did they interview?
Yes.
How deep can you go into how it went?
It didn't go as good as what we'd like.
What does that mean?
So individuals are able to cooperate, and sometimes they decide not to cooperate. And when they don't cooperate, there's not a lot of leverage that we have in certain circumstances to encourage them to do so.
My theory is when he hit on him, the guy went berserk and just killed him. A queer slasher, that's what I call him.
I'm doing everything I can to solve this for us.
Over the years, Ruth and Beth have compiled their own case file to help detectives who at one point misplaced the actual file.
I called the 9th Precinct at this time to see if they had any files. Maybe something was at their place.
And now, 35 years later, they're pushing police harder than ever.
We are not going away. As long as we have any thread of anything that we think could solve this, we're going to be there.
A family unable to describe what justice would mean.
It's hard to say.
I can't even put it into words.
But we just want to know what happened.
We may not know why it happened, but
It's just
we just want to know who.
Any
So
answers
we can
would be
put
great.
some closure to this
Yeah.
after 35 years.
Any answers would be great.
Yeah.